YouTube, what's good? Welcome back to the channel. So the last couple weeks I did a bunch of photography stuff, and I'm gonna use this video to kind of summarize all of that. So it's gonna be a very new style of video, but I think you're gonna enjoy it. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about here are the photos that I created of a subway performer a couple weeks ago. I think it was just over 2 weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. And I want to talk about this here because I just kind of want to show you what dedication and time and patience delivers. So I met this subway performer a while ago as I was commuting. I saw him, I took a quick photo of him on my rangefinder camera, one of my Canon rangefinder cameras. Hated the photo, came out terrible. I was zone focusing, everything was underexposed. Either way, not that important. But I did get his information, and I basically said, hey, I'd love to actually photograph you either in the studio or somewhere. So I followed up a few times afterwards and didn't get any response, and I thought it was done for it, but I knew I had to follow up because this guy's look was amazing. He was very talented, and you could tell he knew what he was doing on camera. So I followed up a bunch and eventually got a hold of him. We scheduled something, and I showed up and we got some photos. And I actually followed him around the subway for an entire night, let's say for about 3 to 4 hours, as he was hopping around from station to station, because you go to some stations, there's already somebody there, so you can't perform, so you gotta go somewhere else. Sometimes you get kicked out, all kinds of things can happen down there. So following him around was very eye-opening, and I think I'm gonna do something bigger with him eventually, maybe make a little short documentary or something about his process and his kind of day-to-day. But let's talk about the photos I got. So I brought with me my Hasselblad, which at the time, or I guess still has a light leak, but at the time I decided to just tape up every seam, every hole, every window, everything. And that worked very well. No light leaks on these photos. I brought the Hassie, as I said, 80mm lens, and I shot with Fuji Pro 400H and Portra 400. And I had to push both rolls of film because it's extremely dark down there in the subway. It might not feel like it's dark, but when you pull out a light meter and measure an exposure, it's actually very rough. I think my settings were 1/30th of a second with these 400 speed films pushed to 800. So it was rough down there. And despite that, I managed to expose most of these shots properly. Even though I pushed the film, I think I got some pretty accurate colors for the most part, but a couple different negatives, you can tell that the exposure is a bit off and therefore the shadows are a bit muddy. These are the prints right here that I made. I'll just give you a quick preview here and then we'll actually jump in and take a look at them. I did this scene and I did this kind of more close-up but still environmental scene. Let's take a look at the images. So here are the two portraits I made of the street performer. Let's actually look at this one first. And again, I'm shooting on glossy paper here, not on purpose. This is what I bought from my local darkroom, and I didn't know it was gonna be glossy. So I asked them to cut it, they cut it, and now I'm kind of stuck with it. But either way, this is the first shot. As you can see, there's a bit of an overlap on the negative here with the shot above it, and that is legit. My Hasselblad, for whatever reason, on that specific frame, decided to do that. I've never really seen that on any other photos. So that's that. And there's a big fingerprint there, which I'm gonna have to clean. So this is the photo. I like the colors on here. I think they came out very neutral. And I just love the composition here. I'm a big fan of this photo. Let's take a look at the other photo. This is the other photo, a bit more of a close-up, but still kind of environmental shot. I made two of these. I'll show you both. You can kind of compare and contrast. And I went two different kind of colors, just so I can have an option, but also I can have one of these to give to Moises himself. This one here is a bit more magenta and a little bit warmer. This one is a bit cooler, just a hint of green. So really love this shot. Probably my favorite photo of the entire bunch. Shows his character, shows where you are, and he looks good. So really happy with this. So yeah, I really like these photos and I'm happy I got to print these. I made 2 copies of that second portrait there, so that next time I see Moises, I can give him a copy as well. Moises is the name of the subway performer. The other shoot that I did this week was actually just kind of a walking around street photography kind of a shoot. I do a lot of street portraits, and I took a stroll around Manhattan before my class that I'm taking. I'm taking a photo class at ICP. More about that in a different video. But before my class, I happened to scroll through Washington Square Park, and instantly like that, the juices started flowing, saw a lot of interesting people, and started talking to some people. There was this girl walking around with a bandana wrapped around her head, this like red bandana. She had this look to her, wearing some vintage clothes. and I knew I had to photograph her. So I went up to her, started talking to her, and turns out she's from Paris. She's Parisian. She was about to light a cigarette, and I was like, we got to sit down and make some photos. So I sat down with her, and these are the digital files of the photos that I got. I love how those turned out, and I love that I got a close-up and a kind of more environmental wide shot. These are the two prints that I made, and I'm really happy with the overall results here. Let's actually take a look at these and get a little bit closer. Here are the two shots I took of the Parisian girl. Now let's look at the close-up one here first. I just love this. It's warm. There's a little bit of glow from the highlight back here, but of course, you know, I could have dodged that to bring out a lot more texture in here because the digital scan and the negative itself has a ton of data there. So definitely something I could have gotten from here, but still, I love how this turned out. I think she looks great. And the Hasselblad wide open at 2.8, focus as close as possible, just gives you this nice square image that has bokeh, it has size, and it's still close up enough with plenty of detail on her face. The other photo here is much more of an environmental shot, and I just wanted her to sit and chill and look cool, and that's exactly what she did. Same thing here with the sky. I could probably bring out some more information, but really love this photo. It just looks so good. And as a combo right here, it's a great 1-2 punch. Never buying glossy paper again though. So that was a really fun session. Those are the only two images I printed from that street session because I only shot one roll of film that day, but there's a bunch of other photos that I really enjoyed taking as well. Let's take a look at those right now. So yeah, very busy with photography the last couple weeks. Didn't shoot tons of roll of films, but I really enjoyed what I got. And I think the Hasselblad is helping me slow down and really pick and choose what I want to shoot and then execute a plan. So really happy with that overall. The last thing I want to talk about here in terms of the last couple weeks is my newest gear purchase, and that is this right here. This is the Olympus XA, the original, the #1. And I mentioned that because XA 2, 3, and I think there's a 4, they each have kind of different settings and different capabilities. This one right here has a meter, it has a built-in rangefinder that you can actually move, and there's a patch you can view through. And then it also has aperture priority, which is fantastic. So all of those capabilities make this camera really capable and kind of make things a little bit easier for you. You're not zone focusing. You can if you want, but you don't have to. There's a real rangefinder in here. And then with the meter, a lot of my other rangefinder cameras are the old style rangefinders that don't have meters. And so I have to carry this Iconic around. That works really well, but it's something you have to constantly do. Here, you don't have to do it at all. You just pick your aperture and you can shoot wide open if you want when you're shooting portraits, things like that. Or if you're gonna zone focus and kind of just get what you get in the street photography setting, you can go to f8, 11, whatever else you want, and the camera will do the rest for you. So that's extremely useful. I bought this camera for all those reasons, but also because of the size. As you can see here, this camera's tiny. So it fits in the palm of my hand like that, and basically fits in any pocket that you could ever really have. It's funny though, I say that that's why I bought it, which is true, but now that I've been using it, that's probably the one downside about this camera. I feel like it's actually too small. When you hold it, first of all, it's not very ergonomically friendly. There's no good place here to rest your hand, so you have to wear this strap as much as possible. And then in terms of accessing the controls, the rangefinder is just kind of awkwardly placed. There's a little tab here that you use to move it around. And you know, when you bring it up to your face, the rangefinder patch is not very big. So if your scene has a lot of stuff, and you know, it could be really distracting when trying to find the patch in here, especially if the light isn't super contrasty. So, you know, a bit of a learning curve for this camera, but I'm sticking with it and I'm gonna give it a fair shot. And I'm hoping I like it because this is gonna fulfill a really nice purpose, and it's gonna play a nice role in kind of my arsenal. This is gonna be kind of my B camera, let's say, that I can always have on me while I'm shooting with other ones. And lastly, this camera has a flash that gets attached directly to it right there. If you attach it, it changes the size of the camera. As you can see now, it's a bit bigger, but it's still very small. So I really appreciate that. I'm gonna make a review about this at some point, but wanted to show this to you because this is a pretty cool camera. And I think I got the souped up version, the one with all the bells and whistles. So we'll see how that works out. All right, y'all, that's the video for this week. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna do this more often because There's all kinds of stuff that I do that, doesn't really feel appropriate for a single YouTube video, or doesn't really fit any kind of specific thing. But you know what? To hell with all that. I'm just gonna make these videos. You can watch them if you want to see what I'm up to, and I hope you enjoy them. If you did, of course, click that like button to help me out so more people can get this video served to them on YouTube. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe. All right, y'all, to the next one. I'm out.